to you. It's good to have you joining us for the CBS Early Morning News. Good morning to you.
Diane, we're here.
We will begin the headlines this morning with an exclusive report. Bill Kurtis has discovered that researchers at Michigan State University have found dioxin in the state's major industrial rivers. Damage continues to mount in storm-battered California, and part of Boston is still without electricity. Bill?
The threat posed by the toxic chemical dioxin may be much more widespread than previously believed. A new study obtained by CBS News reveals that fish taken from major industrial rivers in Michigan contained levels of dioxin 4 times higher than those considered safe by the FDA. The discovery was made by a doctoral student at Michigan State University while working with Dr. Matthew Zabik of the university's Pesticide Research Center.
People have been and are being exposed to dioxins, but we cannot tell just from residue analysis whether there's any effect. That's all we can point out is that it's here, that we're being exposed to it, we should be aware of it, and that studies should continue.
In 1978, dioxins were found in Michigan's Tittabawassee River, and sportsmen were advised there that eating fish from the river might not be safe. Later this morning, we'll have a full report on the findings and implications of the new study.
Hundreds of residents living near Hawaii's Kilauea volcano have been forced to flee their homes as the volcano continues to spit fountains of lava hundreds of feet in the air. The lava stream is now just 300 yards away from the nearest home and gaining slowly but steadily. Officials are also worried that the steaming lava could touch off brush fires in drought-stricken areas. And the rain is easing, but pounding surf continues to batter California. In Malibu, several exclusive homes have been lost to the storm, including one belonging to Billie Jean King.
It's devastating, and it doesn't seem like it's going to stop.
At least 16 people have lost their lives in the storm. More than 9,000 people have been forced to flee their homes. Residents of Simi Valley, northwest of Los Angeles, are being evacuated because an earthen dam above the valley is now threatening to give away.
A blackout hit Boston's financial district during the afternoon rush hour. The power failure knocked out electricity to 6,000 customers, 4,000 of them businesses, forcing thousands of workers to go home early. No one was hurt, but scores of people were trapped in elevators.
I got on the elevator on the ground and we went up, and it made a few stops, and all of a sudden the elevator just went dead.
A fire in a manhole triggered the blackout, destroying 7 major power lines. Utility company officials say power won't be fully restored until this afternoon. For the third time in less than a week, the Dow Jones Industrial Average ended the day at an all-time high. The Dow was up 4.35, standing at 1135.06 after heavy trading. More than 112 million shares changed hands.
The Wall Street advance was in part a reaction to the government's index of leading economic indicators for January. It rose 3.6%, the biggest jump in more than 30 years. And it prompted Treasury Secretary Regan to declare a recovery underway.
We received very encouraging news in January's figures for industrial production, new orders for durable goods, business inventories, and unemployment. Indeed, many economists now suggest a rate of growth this year far exceeding our official predictions.
There's a report today that Saudi Arabia has cut its oil production to below 4 million barrels a day to about 3.3 million barrels. Japan's Kyodo News Service says the reduction is aimed at holding off price reduction pressure from its major oil buyers. Meanwhile, some OPEC ministers gathered in London today for more talk about pricing.
Back in Saudi Arabia, Ahmed Abdul Rahman and his dromedary Dabian were the victors in King Fahd's annual camel race. The winning jockey rode on top of, rather than behind, the hump. And with a field that included 1,700 steeds, the desert outside the royal capital looked less like Riyadh than it did like Camelot. More sports coming up.
Coming right up on the CBS Early Morning News, Jim Kelly with a top 5 showdown in college basketball.
Have you ever stood in line, my friend? Not for hours, but for years on end. Not waiting for a ticket for a show you want to see, but just for the chance to live life normally. Waiting for the gift of life. Pass it on, pass it on. Give the gift of life. Pass it on, pass it on. Somewhere someone depends on you. You can can give the gift of life and help someone who depends on you by becoming an organ donor. You can indicate your desire on your driver's license or get an organ donor card from your kidney foundation. A moment to sign could mean a lifetime to others. Remember, we're talking about life. Pass it on, pass it on. Give the gift of life. Pass it on, pass it on. Somewhere someone depends on you.
Vienna, Milan, Paris, opera capitals of the world. But when I come home to the United States, I want to be sure my return through U.S. Customs is smooth and easy. Hi, I'm Roberta Peters, and before I left home, I asked for this, a U.S. Customs travel pack. It's a kit of handy information containing all you need to know about your return through customs. It's really worth your while to get a travel pack now, even if your trip abroad is still a while off. All of these pamphlets, plus a declaration form, are in the U.S. Customs travel pack, free from your travel agent. Or write to me, Roberta Peters, U.S. Customs Travel Pack, Washington, D.C., 20229. Now, if they could only set that to music.
Let's ask Steve Deschler to give us the latest on that wicked weather out west. Steve?
Well, finally, after a few days, there's some good news to report concerning California. The rain showers are going to end today. There will be some sunshine later on, and one more day of sunshine for them tomorrow. In other words, 2 dry days in a row, which is good news for waterlogged and wind-battered California. Still some rain showers in western Nevada. There's a low off the coastline. It'll be to not much effect in the next couple of days. Some clouds. Rain showers, the coastline of Oregon and Washington, 47 degrees at Eugene. Still some showers in the southwest, but for the most part, a pretty good day nationwide, except for on top of Mount Washington, 12 degrees right now, winds gusting to 100 miles per hour, blowing and drifting snow. Springtime hasn't arrived quite yet in parts of the Northeast. Here's the national satellite picture that shows, for the most part, clear skies along all the eastern seaboard states, all the Great Lakes, and the eastern plains as well, but clouds are encroaching as some warm air works its way over some cooler air, and meanwhile there will be a chance of severe weather. You see those bumpy clouds in central Texas later on today. They could be troublesome by late this afternoon. Now here's a look at some weather and temperature forecasts for some locations around the country. New York City, 56 and partly cloudy skies, 60 and partly cloudy skies at Chicago, 78 degrees and sunshine for Miami, 54 and partly cloudy skies at Cheyenne, 73 and showers at Roswell, 57 and partly cloudy skies at Los Angeles. Some more good news for California in the forecast in a couple of minutes.
Pretty good news in the sports field. It looked as though the #2 team in the country was in trouble last night. Jim can pick it up from there.
All right, Bill. Looks like you should never awake a sleeping giant, all right? Virginia, led by their over 7-footer Ralph Sampson, slept through most of the first half, trailing Wake Forest by 7. But then the 2-time player of the year awoke, as did his teammates, and cruised by 53-38. That's what they lead at the half. Sampson scored 28 points. Virginia led by as many as 38. Overmatched and overcoached, Carl Tessie cleared his bench. The Cavaliers won by 33, 107-74. The third-ranked Cardinals win by 9. And number 10, Tar Heels of North Carolina win by 12. At the Boston Garden, a sellout for the first time in 30 years. Boston College against Georgetown. The Eagles' Jay Murphy here in traffic ties up the game 82-all, and it goes into overtime. This is the eventual game winner. Michael Adams makes it 86-85 BC. Then after making one from the line, John Garris misses. The Hoyas have one last chance to tie it. Horace Broadnax hits the rim, and the Eagles hang on to win by 2. The Sooners also win by a bucket. Now tonight at Fayetteville, number 4 Arkansas playing host to number 1 Houston. Of course, the Cougars handed the Razorbacks their only loss so far this year.
I really felt like that one of the other conference teams would beat them before now. But I kept telling my team all along that we couldn't depend on that. We had to take care of our own situation, and just in case Arkansas went through undefeated the rest of the way, and it so happens that's what's happened.
Tough place to play. The Razorbacks favored by a bucket. We'll have film at 11. In the NBA, Magic Johnson a season-high 34, and the Lakers beat the Bucks by 10. Here's the Lakers coming up in the dark jerseys here. Magic Johnson a season-high 34 points, and as we said, they win by 10 points. The Lakers do against the Bucks. Elsewhere, the Nets by 39 over hapless Houston. Dallas by 3. The Suns by 4. Blazers by a bucket. Denver wins by 10. In the NHL, the Oilers win. The Flyers tie. Chicago over the Kings. A whitewash and another tie. That was 4-4, in case you missed it, the Blues and Minnesota.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's worth it. That's what Barney Clark said on an extraordinary videotape. We'll show you next.
Still to come on the CBS Early Morning News, soaring prices on Wall Street, a report from Ken Pruitt, and some improvement in the West Coast weather report from Steve Deschler.
We'd like to give you a quick demonstration of the IBM Display Writer office system. It lets you type, edit, and file electronically. It points out misspelled words and the correct alternatives. It can be used as a computer, and it can send information to whoever needs it. The IBM Display Writer helps you get your job done so quickly, it helps you look good.
This good-looking guy in the office has a lot going for him, but he smokes and his breath smells like an ashtray.
Topol's Smoker's Breath Concentrate, with breath-freshening ingredients 5 times more concentrated than Scope or Listerine mouthwashes. It costs more, but up to 275 concentrated sprays work hard and last a long time.
He's using Topol spray now, and his breath smells clean and fresh.
Topol's Smoker's Breath Concentrate, because bad breath is bad, but smoker's breath is worse.
These are the headlines today. Pope John Paul begins his first full day in Costa Rica. Congressional investigators are wary of President Reagan's offer to allow access to EPA documents. And artificial heart recipient Barney Clark says it was worth it. Pope John Paul II celebrates an outdoor mass in Costa Rica today. More than 1 million people are expected. On his arrival in San Jose, the Pope said that he wants to share the pain of the people and to offer encouragement and hope. In a speech to Central American bishops, he called on the church to reject both capitalism and Marxism as oppressors of the dignity of man.
The New York Times reports today that members of El Salvador's government admit their army is facing a serious situation, but deny it is facing the crisis the Reagan administration claims. Meanwhile, in Washington, State Department officials say the Salvadoran government may agree to hold presidential elections 6 months earlier than planned, a move the administration is actively encouraging. President Reagan has ordered the Environmental Protection Agency to give Congress access to, but not possession of, disputed EPA documents. House investigators quickly rejected the offer as unacceptable, though agency chief Ann Burford appeared conciliatory.
I have repeatedly urged that we be allowed to open our doors to Congress, because I think that this current situation is going to bring the agency to a halt.
The way in which we use these documents is totally inconsistent with their suggestion that they bring them up, put them on a table, we can look at them or take notes. It's really absurd. It's almost insulting to our intelligence.
The federal government has agreed to accept $2 million from a Texas oil drilling firm that was blamed for a 1979 spill in the Gulf of Mexico. The oil well blowout in the Bay of Campeche caused the largest spill in history. The government had sued Sedco Incorporated for $12.5 million in cleanup costs. January's explosion and fire at a gasoline storage tank in Newark, New Jersey, reportedly has now been blamed on human error. The Newark Star-Ledger says findings scheduled for release today will say Texaco employees miscalculated the amount of fuel inside the tank.
For the first time since he received an artificial heart 3 months ago, Barney Clark has spoken publicly about his ordeal. In a videotaped interview, Clark's surgeon, Dr. William DeVries, asked if he would recommend the operation to other heart patients.
Well, I tell them that it's worth it. It's an alternative. They either die or they have it done.
It's been hard for you, hasn't it, at times, Barney?
Yes, it's been hard, but the heart itself is pumped right along. And I think it's doing well.
Despite his suffering, Clark said it has been a pleasure to be able to help people. We'll have the business news coming up.
In just 1 minute on the CBS Early Morning News, Wall Street sets another record. Ken Pruitt will have details next.
It's naturally high in protein, naturally low in calories, and just plain good for you. And now it's coated with real oven-baked breadcrumbs for a taste that's crispier than ever before. Introducing Mrs. Paul's new crispier, crunchier fish sticks and fillets. When was the last time your kids had fun eating something this good?
Come on.
Mrs. Paul's. It tastes good because it is good.
There's more to John Hancock than life insurance.
In my business, creating something new isn't enough. It has to be what people want. That's why the John Hancock companies constantly develop new financial services that people like me really need. Everything from employee benefits programs to mutual funds, even auto and home reinsurance. When John Hancock offers something new, there's a future in it.
John Hancock. We can help you here and now, not just hereafter.
Ken Pruitt racking up more records on Wall Street than Hollywood ever thought in the Grammys. Let's hear it today. Good news.
Good news. Big day yesterday. Another record high for the Dow Jones Industrial Average and 2 good readings on the economy. The index of leading economic indicators designed to forecast the direction of the economy went up 3.6% in January. That's the biggest increase since July of 1950, when the economy was pulling out of the 1948-49 recession. The index has gone up 9 months out of the past 10. Treasury Secretary Reagan said recovery is underway, and from the fourth quarter of last year to the fourth quarter of this year, economic growth will be stronger than the administration forecast of 3.1%. Also, sales of new single-family homes went up 10% in January to 576,000 at a seasonally adjusted annual rate, and that is the best level in 28 months. It's nearly 51% above January of last year. The inventory of unsold homes on the market fell to a 5.5-month supply. That's the smallest backlog since spring of 1977. And lest we forget the law of supply and demand, the median price of a new home went up to a record $75,500 in January, nearly $4,000 above the December level. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up more than 4 points yesterday to a new record high of 1135.06. The NYSE Composite Index and S&P 500 also hit new highs as advances led declines 2.5 to 1. Gold in London this morning is down $1.75 from the close in New York yesterday at $431.75, and the American dollar is trading lower in overseas action this morning.
Thank you very much, Ken. It was a storm warning on the West Coast. It may be an avalanche warning for the Rockies today. Same storm. Here's Steve.
Here they go again in the Rockies. Some more snow's on the way for the mountains of Colorado. Possibly heavy there, but for California, there is good news finally in a forecast for today and also for tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Current weather on the map shows still lots of cloudy skies around the area. Some rain showers confined to the extreme eastern part of California and into Nevada. It's now 50 around Las Vegas, 56 degrees at San Diego. Some showers up the coastline near Eugene. It's 40 at Seattle. Otherwise, across the west, still some cloudy skies across the southwest. Partly cloudy skies in the Rockies, 32 at Billings. Some showers northern plains. Otherwise, the entire eastern chunk of the country, east of the Big River, has mainly clear to partly cloudy skies this morning and still very, very warm air. High pressure dominates. There's still a storm off the coastline of the northeast, causing gusty winds and some snows in the area. Here's a look at the forecast map, which shows, finally, a break in the clouds along the coastline of California. Increasing sunshine, not clouds today. Some showers still in the mountains of the west. Showers northern plains. Thunderstorms could be heavy at times in Oklahoma and Texas as a low pushes across there. Sunshine for the east and very warm once again. Now here's a look at some weather and temperature forecasts for some locations around the country. At Burlington, partly cloudy skies and gusty, 38 degrees, 75 in sunshine for Asheville, 80 in showers at Corpus Christi, 68 degrees and partly cloudy skies at Denver, 48 in showers around Fargo, 56 degrees and partly cloudy skies at San Francisco. More about those clearing skies on the CBS Morning News a bit later.
And more about the Spanish Sinatra coming up in a moment.
There's a lot about the business world you can't learn in any textbook. You learn it here, the Wall Street Journal. Today's business, always current, always timely. Believe me, it's required reading.
Get all the business news you need when you need it. Get the Wall Street Journal, delivered every business day for 6 months for $47, just 37 cents a day. Phone toll-free 800-228-2210. That's 6 months, $47, only 37 cents a day. Phone 800-228-2210 now.
She came right out and told me my teeth were yellow from smoking.
I didn't want to embarrass him, but he did get the topol.
When smoke from one cigarette can leave a stain like this, imagine what a pack a day can do to your teeth. Topol is formulated to help remove ugly yellow tobacco stains, yet Topol cleans gently enough to be used every day.
Topol is kind of expensive compared to regular
Oh,
toothpaste.
but compared to what cigarettes cost.
Your teeth are so much brighter now.
Yeah.
Topol, smoker's tooth polish.
Honey, you brought home the bowling trophy.
Yeah, and a nagging backache.
Hold on, I'll get the Doan's pills.
Good advice. Doan's pills for occasional nagging backache pain due to simple overexertion, stress, or strain. Taken as directed, this time-proven analgesic brings relief of minor backache pain for hours.
Doan's pills make me feel like I do when I bowl a strike. Relieved.
Time-proven Doan's pills help you get the better of simple backache pain.
If you have to wait a week for business news, maybe it's not news anymore. The Wall Street Journal gives you today's business news today, so you can use it today.
Get all the business news you need when you need it. Get the Wall Street Journal, delivered every business day for 6 months for $47, just 37 cents a day. Phone toll-free 800-228-2210. That's 6 months, $47, only 37 cents a day. Phone 800-228-2210 now.
In the headlines, researchers at Michigan State University find dioxin in the state's major industrial rivers. California is getting a break in its stormy weather, and part of Boston is still without electricity. A new study obtained by CBS News reveals that fish taken from major industrial rivers in Michigan contained levels of dioxin 4 times higher than those considered safe by the FDA. The discovery was made by a doctoral student and a pesticide expert at Michigan State University. Back in 1978, dioxins were found in Michigan's Tittabawassee River, and state officials then advised sportsmen that fish from the river might not be safe for eating.
The rain is easing, but surf continues to pound the coast of California. Several hundred feet of historic Santa Monica Pier washed into the ocean yesterday. 9 other well-known piers have also been damaged. Further inland, rains washed out roads and flooded entire communities. So far, more than 9,000 people have been forced to flee their homes. Despite the weather, Queen Elizabeth and First Lady Nancy Reagan enjoyed a night out on the town in San Francisco, dining, like any other tourist, at Trader Vic's, one of the city's oldest restaurants. Boston's financial district is still without power this morning. The blackout was caused by a manhole fire that knocked out 7 power lines during rush hour yesterday. Near Canton, China, 86 people have been rescued from a capsized ferry boat, but rescuers hold little hope of saving more than 135 others. The ferry overturned Tuesday during a sudden storm about 45 miles west of Canton. Yesterday, rescuers with blowtorches freed 23 people.
In Washington, U.S. intelligence sources say the Soviet aircraft carrier Minsk was seen leaking oil as it limped home after a 3-month tour of duty in the Indian Ocean. In Assam, more Indian troops have moved in to prevent further massacres of Muslims from Bangladesh. 30 more refugees were killed yesterday. 2,500 have died in the past month. In Los Angeles, President Reagan today will urge Americans to contribute to the U.S. Olympic Committee. He says this will show the world what Americans can accomplish without federal subsidy. Julio Iglesias. Well, if you never heard of him, you may be missing something. Iglesias is the singing sensation known as the Spanish Sinatra, who has sold 70 million records worldwide, including 350 gold albums and 100 platinum albums. Well, he's not well known yet in this country, a situation he is hoping to change with a concert tour that opened last night at Radio City Music Hall.
Hoy al ver que ya todo acabó, que no daría para volver.
Brown eyes.
Well, what's your verdict? Another Spanish Sinatra? Crooning. That's it for this morning. We'll be back.
Coming up on the CBS Morning News, Bill Kurtis has full details and a report on that dioxin danger in Michigan rivers. Jim Kelly reports on Bjorn Borg, who's about to play his final American tournament, and we'll meet a Utah bigamist who's fighting to be legally married to more than one woman.
It sounds like an epic disaster movie. 3 million acres of U.S. land flooded, natural gas pipelines to more than half of the United States knocked out, and at least one American city swept away to South America. But this is not science fiction. Bruce Hall explains how this nightmare might become reality.
Springtime is flood time in Louisiana. The snows of winter and rains of spring funnel water from nearly 2/3 of the nation into the lower Mississippi River, setting the stage for what might be one of the largest natural disasters in our history. A drastic change of course by the Mississippi River.
Historically speaking and geologically speaking, it's inevitable. It will change.
The nation's top hydrologists say the main channel will then bypass Baton Rouge and New Orleans and take a shorter, more direct route to the Gulf. The diversion is expected to take place at the old river control structure, about 50 miles north of Baton Rouge. It was built in 1962 and badly damaged in the '73 flood. And now there are serious questions as to whether it could withstand a major flood this year.
It's the focus of stress. That's where the river wanted to divert to start with. The structure was built there because had it not been built, the river would have diverted before now. And consequently, that's the weak link.
By diverting through the Atchafalaya Basin, the river would flood up to 3 million acres, knock out virtually all the bridges and highways in the basin, destroy more than a dozen natural gas pipelines serving 28 eastern states, and devastate the town of Morgan City, an important base for the offshore oil and gas industry.
When the flood comes, Morgan City is going to end up out in the Gulf of Mexico. Indeed, they'll find some of those houses on the shores of Venezuela.
It would also cut off ship traffic to the Midwest and reduce the New Orleans-Baton Rouge corridor to an impassable saltwater inlet, forcing more than 2 million people and hundreds of key industries to find new supplies of water and transportation.
When I wrote that report, I kept stopping and saying, what are you writing, a science fiction scenario or a disaster movie script? And then I'd go back into the data, and that was the data. So I kept on writing.
I guess that's a henny penny or the sky is falling or something sort of approach.
The Army Corps of Engineers is responsible for maintaining the river, and its officials say it will take 3 years and $200 million to complete stopgap measures designed to prevent the river from changing course.
Given the will of the people and the commitment of the Congress and the President, the Corps of Engineers has the capability to maintain the existing relationship between the Mississippi and the Atchafalaya rivers.
The residents of Morgan City see it as their equivalent of the California earthquake. Unpredictable, but inevitable.
The citizen that was born and raised here, we all was raised on houseboats. We travel for a living, we fish for a living, and flood waters and hurricanes do not scare these people, and they will be here until the good Lord takes them.
However, the scientists agree that in the long run, for this city of 20,000, there is virtually no hope. Bruce Hall, CBS News, Morgan City, Louisiana.
And we hope you stay with us for the CBS Morning News. Jane Bryant Quinn is going to have the second part in her series of tax tips for taxes of 1982.
We're going to talk to a man who wants to change the bigamy laws. He is married to one woman. After 11 years, he married another woman, not legally, of course, in Utah, and he wants to change it and make it all legally. Now has children from both women. They both got pregnant at the same time. Be very interesting. Coming up on the CBS Morning News.
I'm going to let you just work your way out of that film. And we'll be back. Hope to see you.
This is CBS.